It's hammer time. Everyone's heard the debate about phones in schools. Should teenagers have phones in high school, yes or no? It's controversial, everybody's got an opinion. Your mom's got an opinion, your dog's got an opinion. I was a substitute teacher for a couple years, so I do have a little bit of perspective about what it means to have a phone in the classroom. Fair warning, there is a little bit of a chance that I will get unhinged today because this topic drives me a little crazy. Joining us for our discussion today are these two guys.
This thing on?
Children never know what they're talking about. They're children. Hello, my name is Peter Holden, and I've been a docu-scientist for 37 years now. Children really just need to have fun. That's the most important thing. Hello, my name is Arthuritis, and I have definitely been in classrooms. There's no doubt about it. So without any more hoopla, let's get into it. Cell phone bans protect children from physical, mental, and digital harms. The first item on that list is the physical harm, which people will say that kids will use phones to stir up drama and get people to fight, and then use the phones to film those fights to get views and clicks, which I mean is a legitimate argument for like the filming the fights to get clicks. But kids will stir up drama wherever they are. I mean, they're kids and this is what they do. Like if there was no phones, would there be incentive for them to stir up the fights in the first place? Maybe not, but I think maybe the phones exacerbate this problem a little bit, but I think overall it's not a huge problem, and getting phones out of the classrooms will probably not solve this issue. Another big thing that people will talk about is mental harm. Where the phones are causing anxiety, social media, blah, 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 all that stuff is doing bad things to kids. I don't really feel like this one is school specific. Kids have phones wherever they are. They always have their phones on them, and the ability to cause harm or do bullying or whatever else is more of like a social presence and like online etiquette argument. What exactly is taking the phones out of the schools going to do for these social bullying dynamics? Another thing that they will point out is that kids in schools will get like that FOMO feeling if they don't have their phones on them, and they can't constantly be like responding to notifications. Like there was one example where a kid heard their phone ringing while they were doing a crossword puzzle and got like extremely anxious because they couldn't answer the phone at the time. So removing the phones and taking them out of the classroom will give them some breathing room where they don't have to worry about that all the time. It has to be said that this problem could be solved by just forcing children to put their phones on silent. I mean, is that not something that we could be doing as well? Another thing people will mention is the digital dangers, where like schools that have a lot of phone traffic and phone use and people on the internet are more vulnerable to cyber attacks or like phishing scams, or they'll say that like all of the traffic on the internet makes it congested and like overload the system. Once again though, this is like a tech security thing, not really a phones in school thing. Like the Chromebooks, laptops, all of the other devices on the internet, and like just general phone security, kids understanding that they need to have secure things on their phones. Getting phones out of schools is not going to solve that problem. Teaching children good phone etiquette will though. Yoink. Cell phone bans prevent vital communications during emergencies. I personally have never really understood this argument, although I feel like it gets made a lot. Like, what exactly is a phone going to do in a shooter situation? Like if the shooter comes in and the kids needs to call for help, gunshots are really loud. Like, you don't need to call for help if there's gunshots going off. The whole school knows. Everybody in the school knows. All the teachers, all the adults, all the admin know what's going on. And having like every single kid having a phone, how is that going to change anything? There was one case where apparently there was a bunch of cell phone footage that was used to like in the trial and prosecution, and it was like an open and shut case because they were like, oh yeah, we got a bunch of footage of the actual event and the crime taking place, like the actual footage of the shooting. But then like, did they not just catch the person red-handed? How is that not admissible in court? Like, do we really need the cell phone footage if people are like shooting? A lot of the people who will make these arguments are the parents. They're like, oh, I need to be in touch with my kid. If there's an active shooter situation, I need to be able to get in touch with my kid. But on just like a regular day-to-day basis, like, why do you need to be in touch with your child so much? If they need to contact you, can they not just go to the office and ask them to use the phone? Or can they not ask the teacher to text you? Cell phone bans minimize distractions for students and teachers. There's this hypothesis, which I don't know if it's been tested or not, but it says that if just having access to a phone lowers your mental capacity, even if you're not using it, if it's close by and you have the option to grab it, this ground is really bumpy. It lowers your ability to think and it actually drains it's called the brain drain. For normal kids, that might not be that big of a problem, but for any kids that have ADHD or dyslexia or any kind of learning disabilities, this could be a real problem. Also, just the fact that phones are by design made to rope you in and keep you engaged for long periods of time. Even as adults, most adults have a very difficult time not using our phones constantly. So how are we expecting students whose brains are still developing to go into class all day and not use their phone, or even if they do get on their phone, they're just supposed to willpower their way through it? How does that make any sense? Cell phone bans prevent kids and teens from learning good digital citizenship and self-control. I 100% agree that we need to be teaching kids how to be good digital citizens and how to live their lives online, because being online is a huge part of everyday life nowadays. But kids have phones all day, every day. There are a lot of hours when they are not in school, when they have the opportunity and the ability to learn how to be a good citizen, a good digital person. Why do they need to be multitasking and learning things while they're in school and also learning good digital citizenship? A lot of people say that getting your first phone is a big deal and it's part of becoming a person, it's part of becoming who you are. Do it on your own time, people. There's this quote that says that we need to teach students how to use phones in schools responsibly, which I agree with. But the problem is that in the very next line, it starts talking about how we need to train kids how to be effective members of the workforce. And if we don't teach them how to not be on their phones all the time, they're not going to know when they join the real world. And I just feel like that's absolute bull. Making the point that students need to learn how to use phones effectively and responsibly is yes, absolutely, they absolutely do. But trying to say that this translates to kids just having phones whenever they want and however they want, at all times, just feels like a non-argument. Also, the idea that teachers kind of just need to suck it up and just deal with the phones, that learn how to teach with phones makes it seem like teachers' jobs are life coaches, and they're not. It kind of makes it feel like they're putting phones on par with doodling or daydreaming in class. And phones are just insanely powerful and not at all even close to being just something ubiquitous that everyone does that's not completely harmless. Cell phone bans advance educational goals. A lot of people will say that if students don't have phones, they have better recall and better attention spans, which to me it makes a lot of sense. If you have something constantly tugging on your attention, it's much harder to concentrate or actually get things to stick in your brain. There's this direct quote I have that says that studies abound with supporting evidence that students across ages and nationalities who are not in possession of their cell phones or connected devices such as smartwatches perform better on educational tasks such as quizzes. And this feels very intuitive. How could they not do better when they don't have these things tugging on their attention? Although it does say that studies abound, which I think the studies are maybe not as clear-cut as a lot of people would have us want them to be. Here are the main arguments people will make for no phones in the classroom. Without phones, there's less cheating, which doesn't make a ton of sense to me because kids cheat all the time. It's not really that easy to cheat on a smartphone. It's pretty freaking obvious if you're cheating on a phone. Kids won't be able to use AI in class, which they already do, but this is not an in-class thing. This is an outside-class thing. AI is a completely different topic all on its own. If students don't have phones in schools, they will have more study time, which again, maybe, but is this phone related or is this teenage goof off, teenagers are slackers related? And the last one is less hassle for teachers, which honestly, this one is the one I'm the most on board with because teachers are constantly policing phones in classrooms and it is a big problem, and teachers are mostly burnt out on this. They're either we get the phones out of classroom or people stop expecting us to be the phone police. Cell phone bans will promote panic over new technology. A lot of people who make this argument will point to things like the original schools, way back in the day, When schools were first introduced, people were like super concerned that children were going to get overtired and they weren't going to be able to get out and play and run around in the streets enough. They will also say like, calculators, look at calculators, they're ruining people's brains, when calculators were first introduced. Or they'll also say the internet, when the internet was first introduced, everybody was like, oh my God, all the people are going to be real dumb. Nobody's going to know what to do, or no one's going to have a brain. I'm going to be real with you, the jury is still out on the calculators and the internet. Like, who has proved that those things did not do those things? Although panic over new technology is a very real thing, and that's why we have things like Luddites. Change is hard for a lot of people. So this argument does have a small degree of merit in my opinion. They will say that student apps will free up teacher time, like the kids can be working on the app while the teachers are doing other stuff, and this frees up the teacher's time to do more things like one-on-one time or like prepping materials and blah, 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 blah. Which maybe the prepping materials and the grading, but student apps are like not that big of a time saver because you have to do a whole bunch of other things while you're doing the student apps. You have to set them up, you have to monitor them. There's a lot that goes into them, and they are not as simple as just like stick a student on the app and let them work for like a full period or hours or whatever. Also, this is 100% a tech argument and not a phones argument, like Chromebooks and laptops, people, not phones. There's this quote that says, apps, when combined with good teachers, will meet kids where they are and help them to learn and grow and succeed. And my thought with this is that the good teachers part of that quote is the only part that I really feel like I actually agree with, because you have to have good teachers doing these things. But good teachers on their own are usually enough to help kids learn and grow and succeed, because good teachers teach well, and they are there to support everybody, and they are there to help everybody move along at their own pace. It's not the apps and the like special education technologies. Like, those might be useful tools in the hands of good teachers, but if you don't have good teachers in the first place, then the apps are not going to do anything to help. We need good teachers in the classroom more than we need student apps or phones or any of this other like new technology that might be useful, yes, but is also not as important as the good teachers. It's hammer time.